Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Oh, what is this? This is kind of top secret. See, this is the rule book for a new game coming out by Eggertspiele called Alma Mater. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but Alma Mater, of course, you've heard of Coimbra, right? Coimbra is a game that came out a couple years ago. It's in the top 200 of Board Game Geek. And this game, I think, will be right up there with it. This is basically designed by the same guys that made Coimbra. Virginio Gigli, Flaminia Brasini, Tinto, Stefano Luperto, and hopefully that's the last time I have to say their names because I'm terrible and I feel bad for mispronouncing their names every time I try and do it. This game is it's interesting. You want to talk about it? Yeah, let's talk about it. So, welcome to Alma Mater. The object of the game is to win. You win by having the most prestige points at the end of the game. My name is Dave from Tabletop Videos, and today I'm going to give you a sneak preview / review of this game and my thoughts on it. So, yeah, that's kind of what a review is, I guess. So, let's talk about what Alma Mater is. What the story behind this game, of course, is that you are a chancellor for a new university back in the 1500s and or 1400s, I guess, early 15th century, so the 1400s. And your goal is to make a prestigious university. You do that by collecting prestige points, hence the whole object of the game. And you gain prestige points primarily through in-game scoring by acquiring professors, acquiring students, and moving up the research track. So those are the three main areas we're going to focus on today, and I'm going to give you a little explanation, kind of a sneak preview on how those work. At its core, this game is a worker placement game with a little bit of engine building to it. Some cards will combo off of others and allow you to get things at a discount and kind of get a little bit of an engine building feel to it without being pure engine builder. It's worker placement, so you start with 4 workers, and basically during each of the 6 rounds you're going to place those 4 workers on one of the spots available to you. At the very start of the game, you're going to receive some setup cards like these. These setup cards are basically things to give you a little boost at the beginning of the game. So you're going to draft cards. You're going to start with 4. You're going to draft down to 4. So you're going to start with 4 cards, you're going to draft 4 cards, and then you're going to select 3 of those to keep. The ones you keep are going to give you things like books, which are resources. They're going to give you money. They could give you some advancement on the research track, which is very important. Could give you points, could even give you a free student. It's a whole number of things that you can collect from the various setup cards. Additionally, once you've got your setup cards and you've determined the player order based on the numbers at the top of the setup cards, you're going to get to acquire one of these little chancellors. And the chancellor is basically a person that is going to give you some type of benefit throughout the game. So there's 10 different chancellors, and you'll get to select one of the ones that are available to select. Then you're going to dive right into the game. On your turn, you have the choice of either placing a worker, one of your 4 workers that you start with, or you can activate a professor if you have one. Now, initially you're not going to start with a professor, so that might be one of the first things you try and do. So to activate a professor, you have to acquire a professor, and those are done in the professor spots. The cost of acquiring a professor is books, and if you're the first person to acquire a professor, you will also need to pay a little bit of money. For example, if you are the first person to purchase this professor, it will cost you 5 coins plus 4 books. 2 books of one color, 1 book of another color, and a final book of a third color. Anyone else that purchases the same professor does not have to pay the coin cost. However, they will need to pay using the same book colors that you did. Essentially, the first person who buys a professor sets the cost in books. So while this person had to pay extra to acquire the professor first, they also set the price and most likely will set a cost that benefits them. So in the same example, if you are the red college, you want to set the 2 book cost as 2 red books so that other people will need to acquire 2 red books if they want the same professor. And where are they going to get those books? You got it, your college. Let's take a look at the player board right now. At the top of the player board, you're going to see you've got 6 bookshelves, Initially, you can set those in whatever order you want to. You see there are some points available at the top of those. That is going to make it a little bit appealing for people to want to purchase your books. And you do want people to purchase your books because money is something that is not easily come by in the game. This in turn is going to give you money to buy books from other players or from the supply, and it's just a big cycle. You're going to see a lot of people buying books from each other. So when you get books of your color, like I said, you can place them in your supply or you can put them on your bookshelves. That is a very interesting decision, a very important decision, because you can have all the books you want, but if you don't have any money, you're not going to be able to be the first one to buy a certain professor. So let's talk about students. So students are very, very similar to professors, except they don't require any money to bring them into your college. And if we go back to our player board, the bottom half of the player board is basically your lecture halls, and that's where you're going to place the students as you acquire them. You start with one worker or start one student. That student does have a worker space on them. Some of the students do have worker spaces that you can go to, and you can do an action, whatever the action is on that student. The one you start with basically allows you to do two things. First of all, it allows you to purchase books at a cost of 1 ducat or 1 coin per book, up to 6, and it'll also allow you to advance up the research track. All of the students, when you purchase them, they're going to cost anywhere from 3 to 6 books, and they go into your tableau, your little lecture hall area, and they're going to give you some type of initial reward, whether it be additional books or money or points, or they're going to give you long-term effects like some type of income or some type of benefit to when you go to other spots and things like that. So those are the two of the 3 main areas you're going to score points at. One is the gathering professors, the other is gathering students. The third way you're going to gain points, and this is a little trickier, is going up the research track. So the research track is important for a couple reasons. First of all, there are 5 different cards that make up the research track that are generated at random at the beginning of the game. For example, on this first card, to go from the start up to the first level, there are a couple ways you can do it. So normally, if you go up, it's going to cost you 3 points, but there is one worker spot on the board. It's called the laboratory. The laboratory has a couple different options on it for advancing on the track. One is a green cog, the other is a black cog. The green cog lets you go up 1 point no matter what. Doesn't matter what the requirements are, it doesn't matter if you meet them, you don't have to pay any of the costs. You just move up the research track 1 point, and now you're ahead of everyone else, maybe. The other option is to go with the black cog. Now the black cog usually advances you more spaces, but you have to check the requirements on the card and meet each of the requirements to go up there. But once you get to the top of any of the cards, you gain some type of benefit, get some free stuff. I don't know, there's all kinds of various abilities. So there's a couple reasons you're going to want to go up that research track. First of all, there are rewards at the top of each of the cards. We talked about that a little bit. Second reason is that there's a book reputation chart that keeps track of who has the most popular books based on who's done the most research for their college. The reason that's important is because the student area, when you acquire students, the students are going to require certain types of books based on who's the highest on that track. So you want to be on, you want to balance all of these various things. There's a lot of balancing going on in this game. So that's the 3 main ways to score points, in-game points, is acquiring professors, acquiring students, and acquiring points up the research track. All right, so there's one other thing in the book that I want to talk about, and these are the glory tiles. There are 3 different glory tiles that are put onto the board at the start of the game. They're randomly determined, so there is some variance from game to game in the glory tiles. For example, one of them says that you need to have 2 professors, one of which in art and one of them in law. And if you do, you can acquire a bust that is kept underneath that glory tile. And you then have access to that tile's chancellor, which is going to give you another little special benefit. Plus, once you achieve that goal, you're going to get some type of reward. That is about everything that I've got to talk about in this game. The game does come with, the board is double-sided to make sure that there is a little bit of competition for some of the spaces. On the 2 and 3 player side, there's less spots available for hiring professors, and it combines one of the book area where you can acquire some of the books with the research spot. So that way there's a little bit of fighting for those. Whereas on the 4 player side, it's a little bit more spread out, but you have more people, so there's still a chance to kind of have a little bit of conflict or people going to spots you want to. So that's kind of interesting. What's also very, very interesting is that there is a third player if you're playing with 2 people. So let's say that you're playing with one other person. There's an automata system called the Ignotus deck, which basically simulates another player, and it does so seamlessly. Basically, you flip over a card at the beginning of each round. That player is going to place workers in various spots to simulate someone else taking spots that you wanted to go to. They will have books available for you to purchase, because some of the professors in a 2-player game, you may need 4 different colored books to be able to acquire some of the later professors. So you figure if you've got your color plus the other player's color, plus the dictionaries, which are available all the time, that's only 3 colors. So to get that 4th color, you're going to want to purchase books from the other automata player, or the Ignatus player. So very, very interesting mechanics there. I think they did a fantastic job adding that to give a 2-player, almost like a 3-player feel, without making it feel like you're both competing against the 1 player or feeling weird. So let's wrap this up. Here are my final thoughts on this game. I like this game a lot. It's definitely something I'm adding to my collection. I like the look of it. It has a very Coimbra look. Like I said, it almost looks like a sequel to Coimbra. Someone walking by and looking at this be like, oh, Coimbra 2? No, Alma Mater. It looks very good though. There is only one area that doesn't have the variability that I would like, but I didn't know this, but it's kind of resolved. So there are, like I said, there's 16 different professors. You're only going to use 8 of those at a time. There are 20 different research cards that you're going to basically shuffle those up and put those into various spots on the research track. So there's a lot of variability there. There are 10 different chancellors that you can acquire at the beginning of the game, so there's a lot of variability there. But the students are 16 students, and they're always available. So at first I was like, oh, so it's going to be the same for the students every game. Not so. They've already released they're going to release a new students pack, which adds another 4 students, in each of the different majors, that you can swap in and out. So you have a little bit of variance there too. So there's a ton of variability in this game. Also, the setup cards is going to give you a very different start every game. It's very much like Teotihuacan, where you start up different tracks and they kind of give you some things to shoot for. This game has a very similar feel to that. And like I said, to me, the most interesting part is the whole dynamic of the books and the money, and trying to manage it so you have enough money and also have enough books to be able to acquire the different professors and the different students that you want. Very beautiful game. I highly recommend it. I think you're going to like it. That's all I've got for now. Let me know what you think of this video in the comment below. Let me know what you think of this game. Is it something you're going to pick up? Yeah, so this is, it plays pretty quickly. I think it's going to play just as well with 2 players as it will for 3, and I think 4 might be the sweet spot. I don't know yet. Big shout out to Mike Young from Plan B Games for having a copy of this and letting me borrow it. Really appreciate that. Yeah, that's all I've got. So thanks for watching this video so much, and go play some games.